What up, guys? Check it out. It's my new YouTube channel, Myofascial Release Therapy Mobility. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, this is my project for exercise prescription. Name's Pat Walsh, if you guys don't know. But yeah, so I originally started this project on mobility, and as I kind of dove deeper into it, I realized that myofascial release therapy and mobility are hand in hand, at least in the way I'm applying it. Um, the reason I wanted to do mobility for this project is I myself have always been an athlete, but I've always struggled with reoccurring injuries, um, overuse injuries, same thing. Not being able to squat to parallel, not being able to have even a 20-degree dorsal flexion, and as a runner, not being able to squat is like, how do you even have a turnover of your leg? So it's kind of like, for running at least, it's the basic form of movement that you need to be able to do to run. But I've spent the last year and a half almost religiously trying to fix myself from the point I got myself into. At this point, I can pretty much move well. But yeah. Okay. I paused it right there. The reason being is because I messed up. So, yeah, just wanted to point out that I know all of you guys are feeling the same way about how frustrating it is for us to have to go 15 minutes straight, basically. It's kind of a struggle, not going to lie. But that being said, let's start my actual presentation. First off, I'm going to talk about what is myofascial release. Basically, it's a manipulation of soft tissue to promote a release in tightness or pain. There are various ways in which a person, a physical therapist, athletic trainer, massage therapist, occupational therapist even, could manipulate the soft tissue to promote the release of tight myofascia and the relief of myofascial pain. What is myofascia? Myo refers to muscle. Cool. And fascia is a band or sheet of connective tissue, primarily collagen, that is located beneath the skin that attaches, stabilizes, encloses, and separates muscle and other internal organs. So basically, it's everywhere. You can't kind of do anything without it. There's a few different techniques for myofascial release. It's most of you probably know a few different techniques like connective tissue massaging, foam rolling, strain counter strain techniques, soft tissue mobilization, and structural integration. Like I said, foam rolling, you guys probably all know that. But yeah, two categories of myofascial release techniques. There's passive and active. Passive techniques are performed with the patient staying completely relaxed, while active techniques are performed with the patient actively participating and providing resistance as needed. And these two techniques can then be further broken down into the categories of direct and indirect release. So direct release involves deep tissue manipulation to work with the restricted or tight myofascial tissue. Gentle, sustained force is applied until the tissue is released. It's done by using your fingers, knuckles, elbows, and different kinds of tools. Grastons with the metal scrapers are a good example of tools used for myofascial release. This work is continued slowly through each layer until it reaches down into the deep tissue. Indirect release. It's described as a stretching with light pressure, allowing the fascia to slowly unwind until free movement is once again possible. This process promotes the body's innate ability to heal itself. What up? Pause it again. Also messed up again. A therapist that utilizes myofascial release will use passive and active treatments with both direct and indirect methods in order to free the area or the area of tightness or pain. In the research I've done for this, I found that most techniques kind of lead into a test and retest method. So you try one way. So you try maybe a passive, indirect method that on the patient, see if it works, see if it helps, kind of gather the data, and then go back and try other ways to increase the mobility and myofascia release in the area. The principles and benefits of myofascial release therapy. Fascia covers all organs of the body, like I said earlier. Muscle and fascia cannot be separated. All muscle stretching is myofascial stretching. And myofascial stretching is one of the myofascial stretching in one area of the body can be felt in and will affect the other body areas. So basically, myofascia connects all the way from your heel up to the back of your head. It's all integrated into each other. So, like getting a calf massage. Oh, okay. I'll explain it this way. When you're trying to stretch your hamstring and you feel in your calf, that means your myofascia is tighter in your calf than in your hamstring. So that's how it's connected. That's the idea. And that's where you try stretching one area and you feel another type of thing. Then also, the release of myofascial restriction can affect other organs through a release of tension in the whole fascia system. Myofascial release techniques work even though the exact mechanism is not yet fully understood. Now, the second part of my presentation is going to be mobility. So, see, I already talked about why I define mobility, so I'll delete that real quick. Solid. Mobility defined: the ability to move or be moved freely and easily. Why mobility is important? Lack of mobility in joints can lead to the body to use inferior mechanics to achieve a goal. This would be a good example of, yep, you guessed it, pause it again. What I was saying was a good example of inferior mechanics to achieve a goal would be like deadlifting. If my hamstrings are too tight to get a proper hip hinge into my deadlift to keep my spine straight or in a neutral position, people that don't realize it will then give way at their spine and go into an inferior mechanic and could cause damage to the vertebrae and other muscles in that area. Inferior mechanics can also leach energy due to poor efficiency and put stress on tissues that do not normally bear that amount of stress. Like I just said, deadlifting with a arched back puts stress on the spine vertebrae, which don't normally bear that kind of stress. Being mobile is a crucial aspect of being healthy. If a person is not able to move a joint freely through its full range of motion, then they are already putting themselves at an increased risk of injury before even attempting to pick up a weight and load the range of motion. Oh my god. You guys guessed it. I paused it again. Another crucial aspect of mobility is maximizing torque. So maximizing torque allows you to produce the most amount of power with the least amount of tissue damage. That comes in handy competing in any type of athletic event. Yeah, guys, pause it again. Keep messing up. You kidding me? Oh my god. I'm sorry. All right. What can cause a decrease in mobility? Injury, for one, like the idiot over there that fell. Injury can cause a possible scar tissue buildup, which will decrease someone's mobility. Uh, incorrect movement patterns, poor posture, working a muscle in a shortened range of motion, and overuse of the anterior side of the body. So I have a little YouTube link right there that's not clickable. Kind of sucks, but I have it open. All right, guys, back at it again after that mess up. But this is the link I was talking about. This man's name is Kelly Starrett. He's one of the mobility guys I follow. And here's his first ever mobility WOD video.
Welcome to the first ever daily mobility WOD being published. I plan on trying to do a short one every day for the rest of my life, foreseeably. We're going to keep it simple and short. The number one first thing you're going to do is your homework is to try to accumulate 10 minutes in a full squat. So this can be done all at once. You can watch TV, but you got to do it consecutively. If you need to come out and stretch, get out of that position, that's fine. But what we're looking for here is what we call a full squat position. It turns out that there is very little hip disease and very little low back and disc disease in countries that toilet on the ground and sleep on the ground and eat on the ground. So what we're going to do is try to just get you into some deep flexion here and then explore that bottom position. A lot of times that hip capsule and deep flexion is one of the big problems. Notice that we're going to try to get heels on the ground. See if you can do that. See, my feet are turned out like a duck. That's less than ideal positioning, and what's happening is solving a compromise of my hip, lacking rotation. So what I want to try to do is have my feet pointed straight forward like that, if possible. So point those feet straight forward. Shove those knees out and be active with the knees. Try not to think about destroying your meniscus here by being all kind of inside. It's pretty hard on the knees. If you're in this position, that's probably what the bottom of your squat looks like, and that's not so awesome either. Working side to side, you can kind of compress one leg down a little bit further. This is going to be tough, and some of you guys probably need to even start by just gripping the wall and leaning back and camping out, like this for upwards of 10 minutes. If you start to get a little bit compressed in the calves, watch this. I'm going to pull my knees back and then stand up. So what we don't want to do is leave the knees forward and stand up. That reinforces that kind of bad patterning. It's tough on the posterior horn of the meniscus. So shins always go to vertical before we stand up out of that hole. So shins vertical and then stand up. But, ultimately, let's work feet together, getting closer as we can so that we can hang out in a very comfortable bottom position. Looking at the watch many minutes ago, as do you. Let's see if we can spend some time here. It's a good place to work on ankle flexibility, actually maximally closing down the ankle spaces, but you just have to accumulate 10 total minutes in this position. If you want to go really wide, find the limits of your hip capsules, that's fine too. All right? Let me know how it goes.
So the reason I played that video is kind of to connect the working a muscle in a short range of motion. So a lot of people end up sitting in chairs constantly, even me right now, and they ended up not actually going through any full range of motion. So sitting in a squat for upwards of 10 minutes a day, it doesn't have to be all at once, accumulative, can help you keep your range of motion and increase your mobility. Last final bits, assessing mobility, the functional movement screening we went over in class, deep overhead squat, hurdle step, inline lunge, shoulder mobility, active straight leg raise, etc. Other ways of assessing mobility could be pain, swelling, loss of range of motion, decreased force, numbness, and tingling. And finally, the resources for understanding myofascia and mobility that I use myself and I highly recommend are Becoming a Supple Leopard by Kelly Starrett, Anatomy Trains, Muscle Testing and Function, and Movement, Functional Movement System.